Franchise workshop targets international commercial brands in Iraq, posted by Walter. Share March 18, 2019. An investment. Iraq education and training news. Iraq industry and trade news by John Lee. NIC hosts franchise workshop which aims to expand the activities of international commercial brands in Iraq. Iraq's National Investment Commission, NIC, in coordination with the U.S. Department of Commerce and the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, has hosted a franchise granting workshop over 4 days for the Iraqi private sector to expand the activities of international commercial brands in Iraq. Dr. Sami Al-Araji, NIC chairman, said in his opening speech that Iraq is on its way to opening up its services sector by providing support to the Iraqi private sector, adding that obtaining the licenses of international commercial brands can provide important economic revenues represented by the opening up of the big world companies towards Iraqi market and creating many job opportunities all over Iraqi provinces. The U.S. Council said that us franchisors are looking to Iraq as a unique key market. Ms. Mays Al-Abazi, the coordinator of the U.S. Department of Commerce and the supervisor of the session, invited the attendees to open discussions to listen to the obstacles that face the Iraqi private sector. The second and third days of this workshop were dedicated to the Provincial Investment Commissions, PICs, and promoting investment in provinces, while the fourth day focused on hotel investment. Saudi Arabia, trade exchange with Iraq does not rise to the level of bilateral relations. March 18, 2019. Zero comments. Economy news. Baghdad Saudi Trade and Investment Minister Majid bin Abdullah al-Kasabi said during his talks with his Iraqi counterpart in Baghdad that the level of trade exchange between Saudi Arabia and Iraq does not rise to the level of bilateral relations between the two countries. The Iraqi Ministry of Commerce said in a statement on Sunday that the economic trade talks between Iraq and Saudi Arabia began in Baghdad to visit a Saudi economic and investment delegation headed by the Minister of Trade and Investment Majid bin Abdullah al-Kasabi. The visit of the Saudi delegation to Iraq was fruitful and successful, and after the meeting with the three presidencies and the Iraqi desire to activate and develop relations with the Saudi sister in all fields, Iraqi Trade Minister Mohammed Hashim Al-Ani said. Al-Ani added that the talks witnessed joint meetings between the Saudi delegation and the Iraqi government sectors according to specialization, thus contributing to activating the work of the Coordination Council, which was agreed between the two countries since 2017. He explained that this council seeks to activate relations at the strategic level and open new horizons for cooperation in the fields of politics, economy, trade and investment. He pointed out the formation of joint committees between the Ministry of Commerce and its Saudi counterpart and the signing of memorandums of understanding between the Border Ports Authority and the General Customs Authority in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as well as a memorandum of understanding in the field of customs cooperation between the Arab Ministry of Finance and its Saudi counterpart. The minister pointed out that the working paper in the discussions was aimed at activating the work of the Iraqi-Saudi Joint Committee, which has been suspended since 1990, as well as work on opening the border port of the province of Muthanna to its importance in facilitating the shortening of trade routes, especially the southern Iraqi provinces. Al-Ani said that the meeting discussed the development of the Arab border crossing, which is still not operational in front of the trade movement, because it is important to increase the volume of trade exchange between the two countries, as well as facilitate the passage of Iraqi pilgrims. He pointed out that there has been talk of re-employment of the transit agreement between the Arab League countries, which was ratified by Iraq in 1978 and ratified by Saudi Arabia in 1979 in order to facilitate the passage of goods. The minister added that the talks discussed joint cooperation in the fight against smuggling, especially that Iraq and Saudi Arabia have long borders, as well as benefit from the Saudi experience in the field of diversification of the economy and reduced dependence on oil. He pointed out that the programs of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which supports investment in the production and development of dates, in addition to knowledge of the latest methods of palm cultivation, and also the exchange of information on free zones in terms of laws and regulations and instructions between Iraq and Saudi Arabia. Media and Communications announced mechanisms to launch the fourth mobile license March 18, 2019. Zero comments. Economy news. Baghdad. The Communications and Information Authority announced on Monday mechanisms to launch the fourth mobile license. In a statement, Al-Iqtisar News received a copy of it that it completed its procedures for the launch of the fourth mobile license. indicating that this came after the discussion workshop held in Baghdad under the auspices of the Prime Minister in implementation of the Council of Ministers Resolution No. 216 of 2018. She explained that the workshop was held in the presence of the consultants and regulatory bodies and a number of members of the House of Representatives and representatives of ministries, and also witnessed a high-level diplomatic presence. Noting to discuss the work required and the timetable expected to grant the fourth license by the global consulting company overseeing the auction process. Retirement. The categories covered by the end-of-service benefit are determined for former Army employees March 18, 2019. Zero comments. Economy News. Baghdad. The National Pension Authority has defined the categories of end-of-service benefits for former Army employees in accordance with the General Budget Law, while confirming that they do not include repressive apparatuses. The head of the body, Ahmed Abdul Jalal al-Saadi, said in a press statement quoted by the official Iraqi news agency and briefed by Economy News. Article 36 of the Federal Budget Law for the current year provided for the payment of end-of-service benefits to members of the former Iraqi Army, explaining that who falls under the name of the former Iraqi Army only and does not include members of the repressive and security apparatuses dissolved Saddam and private and public security and intelligence services that do not fall under the name of the former Iraqi Army. The names within the former Iraqi Army are now being scrutinized to pay dues, and those covered by the article and the law are the names of the soldier, the deputy officer and the head of the officers and the officer from the lieutenant to the team provided that he has a service 30 years. He pointed out that serving the members of the Iraqi Army is doubling, i.e. hidden too. Who has a service of 15 years is covered because it is 30 years with the actual movements. During his participation in the meeting of the Ministerial Committee to monitor the agreement to reduce production in Azerbaijan, the oil minister confirms Iraq's keenness to support oil prices March 18, 2019. Zero comments. Deputy Prime Minister for Energy and Minister of Oil stressed Iraq's keenness to support oil prices and work with producers from within and outside the OPEC to rebalance the world markets by controlling the oil supply. This came during his participation in the 13th meeting of the Joint Ministerial Committee to monitor the reduction of production between the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and major producers from outside, which is held in the Azerbaijani capital Baku. Deputy Prime Minister for Energy and Oil Minister Thamar Abbas Al-Ghadban said that the meeting comes within the framework of the keenness of the producer countries of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and its co-sponsors from outside to monitor the decision to reduce the oil production, which was taken before the end of last year, from January 2019 for a period of 6 months. He added that the meeting aims to review the reports prepared by the specialized committees and emanating from the meetings of the producers in order to achieve members' commitment to the decision to reduce production to advanced levels and control over surplus oil supply and to take appropriate steps to maintain the target set by OPEC and its partners, the stability of world oil markets and the acquisition of fair prices for producers and consumers. And this leads to the revitalization of the global economy. Al-Ghadban said that Iraq plays an important role in bringing the views of the producers closer to reaching logical and realistic solutions and decisions, and that through his meetings with his counterparts he noticed their keenness to do so. The oil minister stressed that the decision to extend the agreement or otherwise will be discussed at the next meeting in Vienna next month. The Deputy Prime Minister for Energy and Oil Minister participated in the press conference held before the meeting of the Ministerial Committee and the ministers of Saudi Arabia, Russia, Azerbaijan, with the participation of the Secretary-General of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries OPEC for his part, said spokesman Assem. Deputy Prime Minister for Energy Affairs and Minister of Oil, held a bilateral meeting with Russian Energy Minister Alexander Novak on ways to enhance relations between the two countries, expand cooperation in the oil and energy sector, and coordinate and consult on the stability of the world oil market. The Minister of Oil also held a meeting with Saudi Energy Minister Khalid Al-Falih on strengthening bilateral cooperation between the two countries through strengthening and expanding joint projects and working on coordination, consultation and communication in order to achieve common goals in the interest of the two brotherly peoples. Jihad pointed to the meeting of the Ministerial Committee on Production Control will be held on Sunday to discuss the agenda of the review of production and the status of the oil market. Qatari delegation to Abdul Mahdi, we want to sign a free trade agreement with Iraq March 18, 2019. Zero comments. Economy News. Baghdad Prime Minister Adel Abdul-Mahdi said on Sunday that Iraq's interests with its neighbors, stressing that Iraq has a strong will for openness and cooperation with the state of Qatar. While a visiting Qatari economic delegation to Baghdad expressed the desire to sign a free trade agreement with Iraq to exchange, promote and protect investments between the two countries. The Prime Minister's office received in his official office today the Minister of Commerce and Industry in Qatar Ali bin Ahmed Al Qurayh, and the accompanying delegation, the media office of the Prime Minister said in a statement. The office added that Abdul-Mahdi welcomed the Qatari delegation, and stressed that Iraq is a friend of all and a peace component serving the region, a forum of brothers and friends of all countries and peoples of the world, and will not return to the policies of destructive wars and consolidation. Our interests are with our neighbors and we have a strong will to open up and cooperate with the state of Qatar in all fields and to exchange interests in the economic, trade and investment fields and to strengthen the bonds of common relations to serve our two countries and peoples, the office quoted Abdul-Mahdi as saying. The Qatari minister conveyed the greetings of the Emir of Qatar and the Prime Minister of Qatar to the Prime Minister and stressed that Qatar and Iraq have great opportunities to work and exchange interests and investors, expressing the desire to sign a free trade agreement with Iraq to exchange, promote and protect investments between the two countries. Quotation mark. The meeting was attended by Sheikh Khalifa bin Jassim Al Thani, Chairman of Qatar Chamber, Sheikh Nawaf bin Nasser Al Thani, Member of the Businessmen Association, Sheikh Saud bin Nasser Al Thani, CEO of Ooredoo Group, and Mr. Abdul Rahman Al Mene, Director of International Cooperation Department at the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and Hassan Al-Fadila, charged d'affaires at the Qatar Embassy in Baghdad. Iraq's economy announces joint decision on oil production posted by Walter. Twilight News. There is a consensus of producers from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and outside, to abide by the agreement to reduce production in support of oil prices and the stability of the oil market. Iraqi Oil Minister Thamar Abbas Al-Ghadban said. He pointed out in a statement on Monday, there are signs of rising global stocks despite sanctions on some countries. This came after the conclusion of the 13th meeting of the Joint Ministerial Committee to monitor the agreement to reduce production between OPEC and the largest producers from outside, which was held in the Azerbaijani capital Baku. Thamar Abbas Al-Ghadban said that the Ministerial Council for Production Control listened to the reports of the relevant committees emanating from the producers' meetings and included an extrapolation of the international oil market and a review of the tables, reports and production data of the member states. Ghadban said that the ministerial meeting to be held next month in Vienna and the meeting in June this year will discuss the reduction of production and decision-making by the oil ministers and leading to more stability of the global oil market. As of last January, OPEC and Russia began cutting oil production by 1.2 million barrels per day. In February, OPEC cut production by 221,000 bpd. For his part, spokesman for the Iraqi Oil Ministry Assem Jihad said that the meeting of the Ministerial Committee stressed the importance of the commitment of producers' agreement, which led to the achievement of positive steps and more stability of the oil market. Jihad said that the Ministerial Committee listened to a comprehensive report on the commitment of the members of the agreement to reduce the production and ratios prescribed for each country, pointing to Iraq's commitment and his concern for the stability of the world oil markets and support oil prices. Iraq says to open Syrian border crossing in coming days posted by Walter. World News. March 18, 2019 8:01 a.m. Beirut, Reuters. Iraq's Armed Forces Chief of Staff on Monday expressed hope that the country's border crossing with Syria would be opened in the coming days after meeting his Syrian and Iranian counterparts in Damascus. God willing, the coming days will witness the opening of the border crossing and the continuation of visits and trade between the two countries, Lieutenant General Othman Al-Ghanimi said at a news conference broadcast by Syrian state television. Reporting by Angus McDowell and Tom Perry, editing by Catherine Evans. Our standards, the Thomson Reuters Trust Principles.